Some law students, like this one, choose the profession of a lawyer because they feel very passionately about justice and defending certain personal values and opinions, such as the environment or women's rights, like in this case, which can be a major motivation in the everyday life of a lawyer. On the other hand, there are some students who might not have very strong moral views and opinions, such as this one. They might just choose the subject out of pragmatic reasons, such as the income or the prestige of the working environment. Fighting for their passions might ultimately keep those students from becoming one of the millions of unhappy lawyers in the professional field. Because to give you some insight into the reality of a lawyer's day-to-day life through some statistics, according to a study, 28% of lawyers report symptoms of depression, 19% suffer from anxiety, and 21% suffer from problematic drinking behavior. So this is why in this final project, I am asking myself, what are the advantages of strong personal opinions for a lawyer, and what are the disadvantages? And is it appropriate to let them influence a lawyer's daily work? Generally speaking, writings on legal practice encourage lawyers to make professional decisions based on their moral values and religious beliefs, such as the 1908 Canons of Professional Ethics, which is directed a lawyer to obey his own conscience, or contemporary codes of lawyer conduct, which refer to terms such as a lawyer's conscience or moral judgment. So firstly, many times, especially at the beginning of a lawyer's career, an attorney will be required to represent certain clients, irrespective of his or her personal convictions. At this stage of a lawyer's career, he or she will not be able to choose yet. Having very strong personal values and opinions that contradict representing some clients that the lawyer is obliged to represent at this stage might hinder him or her from delivering his best work, which could be detrimental at this initial stage of a lawyer's career. On the other hand, such high moral standing might impress some employers, and it might make the young attorney stand out amongst other candidates who just accept to represent any type of client. Secondly, being able to represent someone who you truly want to fight for and whose claims you personally perceive as very relevant and important to stand up for will lead to a lawyer being much more involved with the case and performing at the best of his or her abilities, because he or she will also feel personally affected by the case. This personal involvement can easily lead to higher success rates because it guarantees that the lawyer gives everything and more to win the case. However, getting too personally and emotionally invested in a case can lead to problems of being able to draw a clear line between professional life and private life. Such a blurry line will cause the professional stress and pressure to leak into the private sphere and thus can ultimately contribute to a higher chance of suffering from a burnout. Thirdly, another disadvantage of becoming too emotionally invested in a case because of very strong personal values and opinions is that it might lead to unprofessional behavior, such as reacting emotionally in the court, raising one's voice during trial, or making irrational decisions due to overwhelming emotions. This can very easily harm a lawyer's reputation, which is crucial to his or her long-term professional success. And fourthly, it is scientifically proven that working for someone that you actually believe in and are passionate about will be much more fulfilling than just working for money and prestige in the long run. Hence, lawyers who have very strong personal opinions and values and are able to work in cases which represent these convictions will enter into a flow state much more easily and much more frequently than lawyers who are not very personally invested in their work. Flow state is the mental state of full concentration, full immersion, and enjoyment of the activity. It is the state in which you are so consumed by your work that you will forget about time passing. Entering into flow state leads to increased positive effect, performance, and commitment to long-term meaningful goals, and thus ultimately contributes to a person's happiness. Therefore, it is more likely that a lawyer who lets his personal opinions and values influence his professional life will ultimately experience more happiness and is less likely to become one of the many unhappy lawyers. On the other hand, however, if a lawyer's work is repeatedly unsuccessful and he or she loses many cases despite all the personal effort put into it, this will lead to frustration and unhappiness much more quickly than for lawyers who do not let their personal values influence their daily work. So, to conclude, I have two main points to take away from this presentation. Finding something you are passionate about in your professional life, no matter if that means political or moral views or material things and prestige, this will ultimately lead to fulfillment and happiness. And secondly, it is always important to keep in mind to clearly separate between private and professional life to avoid burnouts, especially if you're very invested in your job on a personal level.